Okay, we're going to put together one of the masks. This is take two, so hopefully I'll be a little better at it. I'm taking a piece out of the pile. I have two pieces that are 6 inches by 9 inches rectangular cut, and they're placed together, right sides together, and pinned in the center to hold it in place. I'm taking a piece of elastic out of my heart-shaped bowl, which is 14 inches cut. I'm going to divide it into two and cut it into two 7-inch pieces, lay one aside. I'm going to come up here to the long end. I'm going to start slightly below the center of that, which will put me at about 2.5 to 3 inches from the corner down here. My presser foot has about a 1/4 inch distance from the edge of it to the needle, and I've put the cut edge of the fabric right against the edge, so I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance on the whole thing. I'm starting here and back stitching. I'm going to come down to the corner. I want to stop with about that much distance before the corner so that I have plenty of room to open that up and place this elastic in the corner at a 45-degree angle. I'm going to hold on to it and place the top layer back down, matching everything up, and come on down. I have a machine that has a feature so that the needle will always be down when I stop sewing. So there it is, and I'm going to stop about a 1/2 inch down from the cut edge now, and I'm going to turn at a 45-degree angle so I stitch perpendicular across the elastic and turn, and now I'm going straight on down. I'm going to come in here and just lay this flat for now at an angle, line this up here, and sew on down. And when I get this up onto the desk at about 2 or 3 inches away from the corner, I'm going to lift it up, grab this end, and being sure not to twist the elastic, still laying flat, place it in the corner at the 45-degree angle, and lay this back down on top of it and hang on to it with my fingers. Come on down to about 1/2 inch from the edge, maybe a little more. Lift and pivot, stitch 2 or 3 stitches across the elastic. Don't worry about reinforcing that just yet. You're going to go over it later. And then pull this down, 1/4 inch from the edge, seam allowance. Okay, I'm down here, about 2 inches. I lift up, I take the second piece of elastic. I'm going to place it in the corner at an angle and put my top fabric back down. Come down to the corner, stitch across the elastic, turn, come on down. Get this organized in here, lay it flat, make sure it's not twisting. Stitch on down, and when this gets up onto the desk, it's time to lift it. Take hold of the elastic, make sure it doesn't twist. Put it in the corner at an angle. Sew on down to the elastic. Lift, stitch across the elastic, and turn again. Leave about a 2-inch hole here. Back stitch, lift, and clip. Check both sides to make sure that you've caught the fabric on each one. Flip it back over, remove the pin, reach in, and normally we cut off this excess in the corner so everything lays nice and flat, but there's really not time for that, and it doesn't really matter in something like this. And also we would normally take something like a crochet hook or something to put in there and poke the corners out, but we kind of have the luxury of being able to just grab the elastic and pull the corner out. Also normally we would go to the iron and roll all this out and press it down nice and flat, but just give it a nice finger press, and it's very important that you roll the fabric all the way out so that your seam is at the very edge, because you can't afford to lose any distance once the mask is finished. It needs to be as big as possible. And from this direction, or either direction actually, we're going to start pleating it. We're going to put 3 pleats in this that are about a 1/2 inch deep and about a 1/2 inch from the edge of the fabric. Here's 1, here's 2, and you can measure these when you do the first couple, but after a while you'll get to where you won't need to measure at all. You can just eyeball this. and here's 3. This, the first one from there to there is about a 1/2 inch. The pleat is almost a 1/2 inch deep. When I'm finished with my pleats, it's going to be about 2.5 inches from edge to edge. No less than 2.5 inches finished, no more than 3 inches when it's there. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to pleat this time in the other direction, facing this way, so that when you pull this tight, that pleat goes in the same direction like a man's cummerbund. So I'm going to put 1, get your elastic out of the way, 2, Lupe is chewing something up under my desk if you're wondering what the crunching sound is. Hopefully it's something she can have. Okay, now I'm going to find the long edge that has the hole in it. I'm going to roll that edge out as best I can, tuck the edges, the raw edges into the hole, hang on to it, and put it in the machine starting in the corner. Use your elastic to help you pull that in. Start sewing, back stitch, come on down as close to the edge as you can possibly get, but being sure to sew the hole shut, otherwise that's going to pop out and unravel when you wash these. Got a little bit of a buckle here, little excess there. You can usually alleviate that by giving a stretch as it goes through. Coming on down to the corner. And don't worry about blunting the corner this time, just go into the corner with the machine, turn, and come on down. Now pull out from here and organize your pleats, hang on to them with your left hand, and use the pin to push it into the machine and guide it on in, but pull it out before you get to it with the needle so you don't hit it and break the needle. Make sure these pleats are laying nice and flat, don't let them get out of whack or stitch them backwards. Pull. I've got one that's wanting to there. And then on into the corner. This is probably the most tedious part of it as far as getting everything organized, making sure that your seam allowance here is rolled out all the way so that you don't lose any distance in the width of the mask when it's finished. Rolling out. Rolling out, holding down, stitching close to the edge. Down to the corner. Turn, pop that down, lay those pleats down, organize them, hold on to them with the left hand, and make sure they get fed in an organized way. Stitching close to the edge. 3 pins. Coming back to where I started, I'm not done yet. I'm going to back stitch, but then I'm going to back up a couple stitches, and I'm going to do a second row where the edge of the finished mask is on the edge of the machine, which puts this stitch at about 1/4 inch from the finished edge and probably about 1/8 of an inch away from the previous stitch. It's sort of decorative, but it's actually holding all the pleats in really well. Turn, organize your pleats, flatten that down, finished edge to finished edge. Turn. We're in the home stretch now. Make sure that you're not stitching that pleat down underneath. And turn, organize the pleats. Hold them down, stitch them down all the way back to where we started, back stitch, lift, trim your threads, if you can see them. Make sure your pleats are lined up, organized, pop it open, place it on over your ears. You can also come back in and take a tuck in the elastic if it's too loose, or try one and make another one with bigger elastic if you need that. But this fits an average sized adult head.